All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving headfirst into a book that's going to make you question everything you learned in history class. It's Mario Arndt's The Resurrection Code. And believe me, it takes what we know about ancient history and just shatters it.
So, the author, Mario Arndt, he kicks things off with this zinger from Voltaire. It's a fantastic way to set the stage, right? It basically tells you, hey, get ready, because we're about to pull the rug out from under the official story.
And you might be wondering, what's this big lie? Well, the book doesn't waste any time. It points the finger directly at one of the most famous names from the ancient world, the first Roman emperor himself, Augustus.
Okay, so let's get into the first big idea, what the book calls the Phantom Emperor. And this is where we get the central and honestly pretty jaw-dropping claim about this guy we all know as the architect of Rome's Golden Age.
I mean, we all learned about him in school, right? Augustus, the guy who brought peace and prosperity, the famous Pax Romana. But Arndt wants us to just stop for a second and consider a wild possibility. What if that whole narrative is a complete fabrication? A brilliant ancient forgery?
So you're probably thinking, okay, that's a huge claim. Where's the proof? Well, the first piece of evidence the author points to is something he calls a historical glitch. Basically, a telltale copy-paste error that's been hiding in plain sight for centuries.
Just take a look at this. On the one hand, you have the famous assassination of Julius Caesar. On the other, the assassination of the Emperor Caligula, supposedly 85 years later. But wait a minute. The name is the same. The method of death, daggers, is the same. The lead conspirator, a guy named Cassius, is the same. Even what happened right after, the Senate trying to bring back the Republic, is the same. Arndt's point is, this can't be a coincidence. It's a historical duplicate.
And that one observation just blows the doors wide open, doesn't it? Because if the murder of Caesar in 44 BC and the murder of Caligula in 41 AD are actually the same event, then what on earth happened to the 85 years in between?
This is where the book introduces its core concept, phantom time. The theory is that this entire 85-year block of history, well, it never actually happened. It was fictionally created and just slotted right into the historical record. Poof. An invented era. And who just happens to be enthroned right in the dead center of this invented period? You guessed it, Emperor Augustus. The book argues he's not a real person, but a historical placeholder. He's the main character in a story that was written to fill a gap that never existed.
But wait, there's more. The argument goes way beyond just that one duplication. The author claims that if you start looking closer, you find these hidden codes, these weirdly perfect numerical patterns all over the place. Patterns that just don't feel natural.
Check this out. The book highlights this perfect 56-year rhythm that connects all the major events of the Julio-Claudian dynasty. Caesar's birth, his death, Caligula's birth, and then Nero's death, which ends the whole line. It's like a perfect metronome ticking away through history. And the argument is, real life just isn't that neat.
And it gets even more specific when you start comparing the two family lines of the dynasty, the Julians and the Claudians. The book argues that their lifespans weren't just random, but were carefully crafted to mirror each other in these very specific ways. I mean, look at this. You have three pairs of rulers, the original guys, the main emperors, and their successors. And in every single case, the guy from the Julian line dies at an age that's exactly 2 years younger than his counterpart from the Claudian line. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. That's really strange.
And the symmetry just keeps on coming. Now look at the last two rulers, Caligula and Nero. It turns out their birth and death dates are a perfect 4 years apart. But not just randomly, they're 4 years apart relative to their predecessors. It's another one of those clean, mathematical relationships that just feels designed. Okay, this diagram might look a little complex, but the idea is simple. For the Julian family line, the author demonstrates how all the time gaps, between births, between deaths, they all add up to this perfectly balanced sum of 184 years. It's presented as evidence that these dates weren't lived, they were calculated.
And it's the exact same story for the Claudian family line. This chart shows an even more tangled, but still incredibly orderly web of numbers. You see intervals like 79 years, 31 years, and 47 years just repeating over and over. Again, the argument is that this is the signature of a creator, not the chaos of real history. So the big takeaway from all these numbers is pretty simple. The author basically says, look, real life is messy. The dates of our births and deaths don't follow neat mathematical formulas. But this historical data, it looks like it was created on a spreadsheet. It looks engineered.
Okay, let's just pause here. This is where it gets really interesting.
Because if you accept even a part of this, the next logical question is a huge one. Why? Why would anyone go to all this trouble to invent 85 years of history and a whole fake emperor? What was the motive?
Well, the book proposes a motive that is just epic in scale. It's called the 800-year program. Step 1, you invent Emperor Augustus, and you place his life exactly 800 years before the great medieval Emperor Charlemagne. Step 2, you cleverly time the birth of Jesus Christ to happen during the reign of your fake Emperor Augustus. And step 3, boom, Charlemagne gets crowned by the Pope in Rome precisely 800 years after the birth of Christ, creating this perfect, divinely inspired historical parallel. It's all about legitimacy.
And that leads to the book's mind-bending conclusion. Augustus wasn't the founder of the Roman Empire at all. He was something much more powerful. He was the founding myth for the Middle Ages. And the evidence doesn't stop with the numbers. The author points to a whole list of other anomalies. Things like other historical figures who seem to be duplicated, like Marcus Antonius, or the fact that ancient coins are often assigned to rulers with the same name, kind of arbitrarily. And how about the fact that the autobiographies of both Augustus and Claudius are conveniently lost? Oh, and the famous ancient writer Plutarch wrote about all the great Romans, but somehow he just skips right over Augustus. A lot of little things that together start to look pretty suspicious.
What this all does is it completely flips our view of Roman history on its head. The author suggests we shouldn't be asking why the Roman Empire fell. We should be amazed that this constructed story has lasted for so long in our history books.